I'm now at the Civic Theatre here in Auckland because tonight here we have the New Zealand Television Award. I am shooting right now using the Z6 and I'll be using it for the to shoot the photos throughout the night, also with the D750. I have it here. So I'll be using these two cameras side by side the whole evening, just see how these two cameras performs when I use it professionally under the more challenging situation, because it's quite dark here, and so it'll be a good chance to test the autofocus, the image quality, and just overall performance when you are using it under a more demanding situation. So I think the event's about to start very soon, so I better get prepared and I'll talk to you very soon. Okay, first let's talk about the image quality. In my Z6 review, I said the Z6 delivered better image quality than the D750. But then I look at the image I took from that evening using the two camera. I have to say both cameras deliver very good image quality, and there's not much difference between the two cameras. Even though it's quite dim inside the venue, the maximum ISO I was shooting at was only around 20,000, 25,000 or so. So both cameras handle it very well, and yeah, there's not much difference between the image quality from the two cameras. And in terms of ergonomics, I also don't notice much difference when I'm switching between the two cameras, even though the Z6 has a smaller body and a smaller grip. Maybe because I was not actually using any big lenses. I feel the handling, the grip, and ergonomics are all very good with both cameras. When I'm taking photos using DSLR, normally when I want to review photos, I have to pull the camera away from the eye and then look down on the LCD screen, and that's the same thing when I want to adjust settings. With the Z6, I don't really have to do that because I can just review the photo used through the electronic viewfinder, or when I'm adjusting the settings, I can just see the menu using the electronic viewfinder as well, so I don't have to pull the camera away, I don't have to look down, so that is a lot faster, and also minimize the chance that I miss something because it just happened a lot faster. And also some of the menu I can just overlay on top of the live feed, so I can see what is happening when I'm adjusting the settings. So definitely that is a big plus if you compare the Z6 with the normal DSLR. In terms of the autofocus performance, so that evening I was starting shooting outdoor when it was still quite bright, and then I moved inside later that evening when it was quite a bit dimmer. And both cameras, I think the autofocus performance are very similar. I actually didn't use continuous autofocus at all, but with the single autofocus, I found the Z6 actually is more consistent, and I actually have more misfocused photos from the D750 when compared to the Z6. And even when I was shooting later in the evening when it was quite dark inside, the Z6 still performs very well. I didn't have any problem when shooting under low light condition with the Z6. The D750 has dual memory card while the Z6 only has one, so that is definitely a bit of concern when I'm shooting an event like this, because if something wrong with the photos, then there's no way I can reshoot them after the events. So for me, the way how I try to minimize the risk when shooting using single card slot camera is that for all the important photos, I make sure I use both camera to take at least 1 or 2 photos. So in the worst case that one of the memory card corrupted, I would still have some backup photos from the other camera. Ideally, of course, you want to be using 2 cameras both with dual card slot, but if you can't do that, then this is one of the ways to minimize the chance of losing important photos. The biggest difference I noticed when shooting using the D750 and the Z6 is the viewfinder. With the electronic viewfinder, I noticed there are some very good things and also some bad things. So let's talk about bad thing first. At the start of the event, I was shooting at the red carpet. So the organizer has set up a couple of big lights there at the red carpet, just help us to make everything look good. Unfortunately, the lights actually flickers quite a bit, and when I'm using the Z6 looking at the scene through the electronic viewfinder, it flickered terribly, and I couldn't figure out if there's any way to minimize the flickering through the electronic viewfinder. And you will not notice this when you are using DSLR through its optical viewfinder. So this is definitely one of the downside when you are using electronic viewfinder. Then later on that evening, we move inside and the venue is a lot darker. And now I noticed there's some advantage I got using the electronic viewfinder, because with the optical viewfinder, especially when I put on the 16-35 f4 lens, the viewfinder become quite dim. It's something that I normally didn't notice if I'm only shooting using DSLR cameras, but when you have a DSLR side by side with a mirrorless camera with a very good electronic viewfinder, then you notice that the optical viewfinder is definitely a lot dimmer when you are shooting under low light condition. While you switch back to the Z6, suddenly everything becomes really bright. You can see everything very clearly. When I was shooting inside the theater, when the stage is light up very brightly with all those big spotlights, and then the place that people are sitting are quite dim. So with the DSLR, you don't know exactly what sort of exposure you are getting. Sometimes it might be too bright or too dark. So with the electronic viewfinder, you can make sure the exposure level you got is what you want, and you can adjust instantly and see the feedback in real time. And also another advantage is that because you can see in real time what sort of exposure it is, so you can apply the exposure compensation, and you can make the scene, maybe you want to shoot it in a high key or low key, and you got a completely different result. And that's something that you can instantly visualize it, and that would help you to create the photo, exactly the photo you want. And later on in the evening, I was working with the videographer team, and they were shooting some interview with the award winners, and I was just taking some snapshot next to them. And what I did is that I changed the Z6 into the silent shutter mode, and that allowed me to take some photos without any shutter noise when they were doing the interviews. So that evening, I also brought with me a Nikon 105 1.8 lens. That's a very old Nikon lens, manual focus, and I want to take some photo at wide open using that lens because it creates some beautiful shadow depth of field photos. And I chuck it on to the Z6, and this is something I wouldn't do if I'm shooting using DSLR camera, because of the manual focus and the very shallow depth of field, the chance of me having misfocused photo is very large. So this is something I normally wouldn't risk when I'm shooting events. With the Z6, because of the zoom in and the peaking, I feel quite confident that I can shoot photo using that lens even at wide open f1.8, and I got very good results using that lens. In terms of the battery life, after about 5 hours of shooting, about 600 photos and 20-30 minutes of video captured on the Z6, at the end of that night, the battery on the Z6 is about to run flat. If I look at the D750, at the end of the evening, the display say the battery is still pretty much full. The D750 battery life definitely lasts a lot longer. A big advantage I noticed when shooting with the Z6 is that I can switch between capturing video and photos very easily and seamlessly on the Z6. I was taking photos using the Z6, and then I suddenly decided I want to take some short video clip, and I just need to flick the switch, and I don't even have to move my eye from the viewfinder, and I can start shooting a few short video clip immediately. And the video quality from the Z6 is just amazing. The full frame 4K video is very clean with very sharp output. And even when I'm shooting at up to ISO 12,000, the video quality is still very good. And another cool thing with the Z6 is that I can shoot some 120 frame Full HD video, good for B-roll, using the Z6, while I couldn't do that with the D750. However, when I play back, it would play back at the normal one-time speed, while I would like to see it in the slow motion speed, because the reason why I shoot at 120 frames per second is because I want to do some slow motion video, so I would like to see the playback at slow motion as well. So after using these two cameras side by side professionally for one evening, I would say the image quality, the autofocus performance, the ergonomics and control of these two cameras are very similar. The D750 would definitely have advantage in terms of the battery life, and also it has the dual memory card slot. However, the benefit of the excellent electronic viewfinder and also the ability to shoot photo and also very high quality video on the Z6 does make overall the Z6 a much more versatile camera for event photographer in my opinion. So have you used the Z6 professionally? What is your experience? Is there something you like or don't like about the camera? Feel free to leave a comment below and let me know. I've uploaded a video recently with lots of street photography photos from my recent trip to Japan, and also some video clips from my visit to the Nikon Museum and also the Panasonic Center in Tokyo. So if you have a spare 5-10 minutes, I would highly recommend you to watch that video as well, and if you can leave me a comment about that video and let me know what you like and don't like about the video, that would be absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you next time.